Tom Cowan. Nice to meet you.
Good.
Today we are with Tom Cowan for his fifth feature film. You're in post-production for Life Class, and it's been a busy year on this project. Actually, I was in touch with one of the actors, Chris Trichel, which I know as one of the French actors in Sydney.
He's a star.
And you're a star because you made a movie also about a French character. Is it a real story or not really?
No, it's not a... there's certain historical aspects to it, but it's set in just after the First World War, and some French did escape from Europe, you know, the destruction of Europe, and came to Australia and other countries after the First World War. The other aspect of it is he's an artist, so French art did influence Australian art very strongly, probably the strongest influence at that time. So I sort of put the two together, the fact that people needed to be mended and after that war and the trauma of it, and the best way to mend is through art. So in a way it's a sort of art therapy. But he's a character who has had his own problems, his own trauma. His studio was blown up in the war, and then he was put to driving an ambulance, and so he saw the worst horrors of the war. And he's trying to heal away from it all. And when he meets a digger in Paris, a digger says, "Come to the promised land, it's the best land in the world." And he ends up in a small country town, and to try and give back something to the town, he decides or offers to hold life class, drawing classes.
Free. Free. I'm a decent man, Saji. I have employment at the cheese factory. I'm not free. I love you.
Because after the First World War, you know, society was somewhat broken, and there was a lot of drunkenness, and the diggers were being gassed and maimed, and they just couldn't get over that trauma, and they turned to drink and other things, and so the women who were trying to hold society together were trying to stamp out alcohol. Like the temperance societies became very powerful. Temperance being, you know, not drink.
It's not really about the war, more about the effects of the war on people's psychology.
Definitely about, the psychology and the attempt, the process of healing, perhaps.
Yeah. So alcohol for Australia. Some other countries were into heroin. Heroin was number one.
Yeah, not so much here.
Although it was pretty close to the source.
Exactly, but we didn't realise that we were in Asia at that stage.
Right. Maybe for the best. In that case.
Could be, yes. Anyway, yes, he of course has a lot of trouble getting a model in a small country town, and even for 2 shillings, which is what he was going to pay, the model, to take her clothes off. I mean, basically that's the problem.
2 shillings would be like one day of work at this time?
Possibly even more, you know, probably 5 shillings a week for a worker.
It was good money.
Was reasonable. Well, it wasn't reasonable, but that people were poor. They were very poor. Yeah, so there was a lot of misogyny against women, and there was xenophobia against foreigners. Even though we fought on the same side as the French, he was considered a frog, you know, a foreigner.
So it could be worse. It could be female, French and black. Then that would be difficult.
Yeah.
That's another movie.
That's another movie, yeah.
Can I please talk to your father?
Look, clear off, mate. She's not doing it. I knows all about you, dirty Frenchman. And if you've come round here to try and race off my Sheila, you got another
I'm
thing
not
coming,
racing
mate.
off your Sheila, monsieur. I'm
Oh,
Georgia.
Paul, I've
I'm
seen
a
the
gentleman.
pictures.
I am a gentleman.
It was shot in down the coast in New South Wales.
Yeah, it was shot near Bega, in the south coast, in a valley, Bega Valley. It's where they make the cheese. It's beautiful, very, very extraordinarily beautiful Australian bush.
What are you doing?
Packing, leaving.
Why?
There's nothing for me here.
It's really a love story in a way between these two opposites. She's very, very down to earth. I mean, she bargains for an extra shilling and then another extra shilling, and you know, it's he can't cope with her at all.
It's an attraction of the opposites.
Yeah, he eventually begins to see her as she really is, which he's trying to teach, but because she's got a quality that's very special, and you know, it just takes a little bit of time to get past the rough diamond. And for her, it's the same. Like, he's completely weird to her at the beginning, and when he begins to explain the principles of art, and she's not stupid. She begins to appreciate him as well. But the problem is she's engaged to a local guy, and
double obstacles.
yeah,
Their differences and the local not seeing that.
And virtually he's run out of town as well, beaten up and run out of town. But he decides to come back. And
With such strong characters, how did you manage to find the right actors? Did you have a specific idea before casting your actors?
oh, I suppose I did have a specific idea, and I'd like to say that the casting was due to my brilliance, but it was actually really lucky that we found Christophe, who is perfect, you know, for the role. He's a real star, but he's also a serious actor. He'd been studying acting here as well for 2.5 years, and you know, when I you know, auditioned him, it was like, wow, this is great, you know.
That's it.
And the same with her. She's, you know, for somebody to have to take off their clothes and act, it's not so easy. And you know, she's got an incredible focus, and she's a beautiful actress.
So how can you know that during the casting? You don't ask people to get naked during the casting, do you?
No, I didn't. I was really interested in their abilities as actors. I mean, he's naked also. She steals his clothes at one stage.
Everybody's naked.
So, yeah, I thought it was only fair that the males be naked as well. No, well, I thought that she was really good. When we took her, I did several auditions with her, and I had to bring her up from Melbourne 3 times. And we went to the location, and we did some test shooting and with artists as well, and they drew her and so on. And I think the second time we did that, so 4 times we auditioned her really. But when she took off her clothes, I realised you'd made a brilliant choice. So it was, I hadn't done it, you know, I didn't realise how voluptuous she was, but she's a real woman, that's for sure.
You didn't use casting director, you did the casting yourself?
Yeah, me and the producer.
So you got in touch with agent directly?
Yeah, well, his agent suggested him. His agent actually in Brisbane, I think, and but you know
He was in Brisbane before.
Oh, right. Okay. So, yeah, it was just lucky. I mean, I had tested a few other French. I didn't want to use a non-French, you know, putting on the French accent.
Was there many French actors?
Not that I'd auditioned, because I'd done about 4 auditions, and then Christophe came. So that was it. I didn't need to do it.
That was the end of it.
Funnily enough, his brother came too.
His twin.
Yeah,
Twin brother.
yeah, really, also very handsome, but a nice guy.
So you could have a double. A body
Yeah,
double.
if he got sick, well, he could have used his brother. But the script did evolve somewhat after I'd chosen the actors, and we'd gone down a couple of times with Christophe as well to do some tests. So there was stages in the scripting, but I must say I was really lucky not to be plagued by the process of getting funding for the script, because that usually destroys the scripts, and as you know, Australian films have become box office poison because of that. I just
lose their genuine quality.
Yeah, they do. They lose that spark, you know, and people don't want necessarily like polished examples of foreign films.
Yeah.
They want
The rough.
They would prefer something exciting, you know, that maybe it's rough, but it's genuinely like, you know, got guts. What gets taken out by the script development process is the guts. And I thought, well, I'd make it just with my friends down in Bega, and there's a huge artistic community there. I could draw on that, and then I met Anelia, who's my co-producer, and she wanted to do it in a more organised way. I wanted it to do it in a disorganised way, and so
This is luxury.
we had some conflict over that, and that her way was to be, you know, make it like a normal film in a way. And I'm glad. She's been absolutely brilliant, like the most extraordinary producer I've ever worked with. And the characters do art during the film, but they're also shadowed by another 8 or 10 local artists who were providing art for the actors if they weren't up to it. And of course they had to develop from not very good to quite good at the end. So we've created or generated about over 200 pieces of art. So we're going to have auctions.
So that's a new way to fund a movie. Create some
fund
art
the movie and
as a
give it
collateral.
publicity as well. Like I don't think anyone's done that before. So we're going to have rolling auctions in centres and regional centres from Sydney to Melbourne for a start, with an online auction, so that the winning bid gets it in the last auction. But yeah, there's some amazing pieces of art. Lovely, really lovely. And of course, the artists were energised and thrilled to be involved in the project, and given a big spurt, as well as a lot of the artistic community down in Bega. Now there's about 4 short films being made in the wake of this film, like encouraged by it. And I'm really pleased about that. It's marvellous.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to watching this movie.
Thank you.